another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host, Brian Parker, along with my host, Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, B?
Not much. Sorry about that little technical difficulty. Man, you hit your mouse and all kinds of things happen on the screen. So, oops, got to be careful with that. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We are streaming live and direct on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, as well as Facebook Live. I think I got all of those this time. You can always check us out on any of those platforms under N, the letter N, the word power, TV. So check us out. If you're on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe. Thanks to all of the recent subscribers and followers on that. Just make sure you click on that little bell too. It'll let you know every time that we go live. So thanks for that. Well, we are headed around the bend. 2023 season is almost in the books, but wait, there's one more game that we have to have in front of us. We will have a show. Should we have a show next week? There's no Super Bowl. Rand, should we have a show next week or one after the Super Bowl?
So I believe there's a 2-week break, right?
Well, there's only one. So next Sunday there won't be a game, but then the following Sunday there will.
Right.
So we have a show before. We could have another show before the game, actual game.
Yeah, we'll have one before the game.
Okay.
And then we'll have a season
ender
recap afterwards.
Sounds like
we're down to 2.
So we're down to 2. This one and 2 more.
Yep.
And 6
Been
months.
A fun year.
6 months goes by fast. We started the show, season 4. I believe, was it August of last year?
Yes, August. Yep. We did our breakdown and teams that we thought would win divisions, make playoffs. I can say that my prediction for the 49ers winning it all is still there, it's still alive. I had the 49ers and the Bengals. So the Bengals, that one fell apart as soon as Burrow did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, no shame in that. That would have been a really good call. I honestly can't even remember who I picked. I might have to go back and look. But this is a hell of a matchup. Now, I will say, Rand, I did not pick the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I didn't pick the Baltimore Ravens for good reason.
Yeah, I was out last week for an event for my job, and we had to go to Columbus, Ohio, to the headquarters. And a lot of my coworkers catch me on LinkedIn. They're like, "Hey, man, we see your podcast every week on LinkedIn," and I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool," because when I do the show, I can't tell on LinkedIn who's watching as much as I can tell on the other channels and stuff. So it's always funny when I'm around my coworkers. They're like, "Oh yeah, we saw your podcast, and this and this, and we listened to some of it." And so a lot of the guys wanted to talk football. And one of my coworkers really he's an adjacent Ravens fan. He's not totally a Ravens fan, but he's kind of a Ravens fan. So he was like, "Yeah, I noticed you kind of give Lamar a lot of hell and stuff, and like they keep winning all these games, but you don't believe in them." And I'm like, I said, and I told him, I said the same thing I'd say to you guys every week. Look, I mean, they can win 12, 13, 14, 15. Hell, they can go 17-0. And I just cannot believe in what they will do until they do it. And I said, look, I want to be wrong. I want to believe that a team that can be that good during the regular season would just take that, carry it over into the postseason when it matters the most, and maximize everything that they did in the regular season. I mean, it should kind of be that way. But every time I've seen the Ravens go to, and then I said, you know what? If the Ravens are going to have the best chance to get over this hump, maybe it'll be the fact that they don't have to play in the wild card week. They get the number 1 overall seed, and maybe having that week off and then hosting that home playoff game will be what they need to get over the hump.
Look, man, For those out there watching, and for those that may comment on the cooler, I'll tell it to you like this: people get upset when we say this, but I don't care. We don't pull punches here. We tell it like it is. We tell the freaking truth. And I
Yep.
don't care if the truth hurts feelings. I don't care if the truth makes you mad. I don't. When it comes to Lamar Jackson is a good enough quarterback to get you to the playoffs, yes, if he's healthy.
Yep.
But he is not going to be that quarterback to get you to the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
And I know it's kind of unfair for me to hold that bar with Lamar Jackson that high. And when he
Mhm.
fails to meet that bar, say, okay, I know he didn't do it, but it's because of his own play that he's not there.
Mhm.
You cannot go to the AFC Championship and have a home game on your home field where you played all year long and destroyed teams all year long and then only put up 10 points. That 10 points is because of you.
Mhm.
I'm not going to put the whole game on Lamar because we had an idiot that fumbled at the goal line trying to stick it out. But still, you can't pass for 50%. What was he, 20 out of 37? That's not going to work, man. And when you're down there in the red zone, when points are critical and position is critical, you can't make the decision to throw in a triple coverage. You can't
Oh
do
my
it.
God.
Triple coverage, not not
Triple.
not double coverage.
Like,
Triple
why
coverage.
did you even let that ball go?
You can't. You can't
He
make
had
that
he
decision, man.
had two guys on each side of him and one guy in front of him, and he still threw it to him like he could phase through that guy and catch that ball. I'm looking at him like,
Yeah, you can see as soon as he did it, he takes off his helmet, he throws it. And that's
yeah,
that kind of frustration that's like, I knew I shouldn't have let that go. I
I
don't know
mean,
what I was thinking, but he did
I
it.
know, I know what he was thinking, and I will give you a reason to be that critical. More than likely, tomorrow NFL Honors will have their award show. I believe it's next. I think it's this Thursday or next Thursday. One of them. I have to double check that. But more than likely, Lamar Jackson will be the NFL MVP. Fun fact: it will be his second MVP. Fun fact: there has never been a two-time NFL MVP that has never been to the Super Bowl.
Wow. Wow. So he's setting history in that regard.
so this is why you can be that critical because typically in a regular season MVP, especially a two-time MVP, has been to the Super Bowl. He ain't going.
Wow.
Ain't no chip in his future this year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be again. You can sit there and win all the regular season accolades you want, but when your team needs you to show up the most, you come out. You're not loose. You're not accurate with the ball. A lot of balls that you threw were late behind receivers. They had to come back
Sure
to
were.
it. Where if they would have caught them in stride, they probably could have broken out for a touchdown and things like that. Yeah, your defense definitely came to play because after allowing the Kansas City Chiefs to put up 17 points in the first half, they shut them out in the second half, and it was still good enough to win the damn game. So your defense did everything they could to put you in a position. And yeah, we could say about Zay Flowers fumbling the ball or sitting there thinking that he needed to spin the ball beside somebody's head and taunt him. Which listen, I'll be the first one to say that I think the taunting rule is well overblown. But everybody knew that it was a damn rule. Everybody know
Yeah.
that you can't sit there and stand over a dude. Taunt. Now, if all he had to do to keep that from being taunting is take two extra steps over to a side, spin the ball, turn away from the player, he could have done the whole same thing, and a flag would not have been thrown. You want to feel that
Brian,
good?
it was so obvious.
It was.
It
Yeah,
was
I
so
was like,
obvious.
as soon as he did it, I was like, oh
As
damn.
soon as he did it, I was like, here comes the flag.
You
Yeah.
know
I
that.
was like, here comes the flag. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's
He's a
not even
he's a
debatable.
rookie. He's a rookie. I get it. I get it. But you know what? Again, when I talked about Lamar getting the bag and what he wanted, the question that and people gave me hell again about, man, you don't want Lamar to get paid? No, 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 no. I say the same thing about a Bryce Young or any other quarterback. When you get that kind of money, you need to be a force multiplier. MVP a lot of times is an individual award, even though your team does help you get that award. I want to see a guy that, okay, how many guys because you were the quarterback they became Pro Bowlers? How many guys because you were the quarterback were All Pro this year? That's what I want to see, because then that means that you are
Yeah.
a force multiplier. You take other guys on your team and you elevate their play simply because you're out there. Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes does that all the time. Uh, if you at the beginning of the year and even during the year, hell, none of his receivers outside of Travis Kelsey scared the hell out of you. None of them.
Yeah. All year
None
long.
of And
Mm-mm.
hell, then you started watching MVS and all these other guys drop catches and stuff like that. It would be understandable that Mahomes would start to lose faith in them and throw them the damn ball. Well, hell, arguably the play of the game was Mahomes getting it to MVS anyway.
Sealed it. Sealed it.
Sealed it.
Sealed the deal.
When
Take knees after that.
he needed a first down to
Yep.
end your season, the guy that is the most unreliable on the team gave him the sure-handed catch.
And
That
you
is
hit upon something too that just strikes a serious nerve with me, man. I cannot stand to hear brothers talking about, oh, you don't want Lamar to get paid. Listen, man, I could give a damn about what another guy makes.
right.
Yes, I'm happy. Get your money. But
Mm.
do realize when you are a quarterback in the NFL and you get paid the bag, that bag comes with with expectations, man.
Oh yeah, there's strings attached.
There's
There's strings
strings
attached.
attached to the bag. There's
Yeah,
strings attached to the bag. So don't be talking about, oh, you don't want him to get paid. It's not that. I'm saying that if I'm in the position, I'm not paying him based on what I've seen.
yeah.
Now, if somebody else wants to, fine. I'll rejoice. Congratulations, Lamar. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not a Steeler.
Yeah, because he would have given you so much hope during the regular season, and then in the playoffs, MIA.
Yeah,
And that's not what you want. We're not going to talk about, man, who won the regular season in 2023. That's not going to be a conversation. It's going to be who won the Super Bowl, and nobody's going to talk about, man, they won. They won 12 games. Nobody's going to talk about that. Nobody's going to talk about you guys being 12-5. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Um,
no.
so Baltimore fans, and listen, I got a lot of family that lives in Baltimore. I got another friend; she lives up in Maryland too. And I know, and man, it's almost like having to walk on eggshells around them. Right? I could even see after the game, they were like, they steal my Ravens and stuff like that, and I just had to put my phone down because I wanted to comment on their post so bad, but I was like, whoo, I might be starting something. There might be some bad blood because I already know they
Yeah, I
called
wouldn't
me
play
out.
around in Baltimore.
Yeah, oh, I know. Yeah, they called me out a couple of times, and I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not going to Baltimore to say nothing to them because they pack up there, man. But yeah, so yeah, I've seen all them shows. I know what they do,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, and it's for real. It's just
It's
work.
for real, for real.
It's work.
The Wire is my favorite show of all time. Filmed
Wire,
right there in
wire
Baltimore.
is real. So
Yes.
yeah, they don't play. They do not play. But I
Bodymore Murderland.
Rand, I get it. The Ravens sat there and, this was one of those situations again where, they touted all these off-season moves and stuff like that as to kind of get Lamar over the hump and everything. And hey, Alan, there's my, he's on Instagram now, the one I was talking to about being at work and talking about the Ravens. And then he hit me up halfway throughout the game or in the first half at least. And said, "Well, looks like you might have been right about Lamar." I really wanted to be wrong because I wanted the fact that Lamar got the money to somehow get him to get into a mental place that he could lead his team further so that he could put the naysayers down. And I heard other analysts say this, so it's not just my observation, but I saw the same thing, Rand. It looked to me like the way they played that got them there isn't the way they actually played in the game.
No,
Um,
it was tight.
it was very tight, but it was also when you look at the Ravens from an offensive standpoint, what were they known for? Running
Running
the
the
ball.
football.
They ran for 81 yards in that game. Lamar is normally more involved in the running game, but it seemed like, and I don't know if he would ever admit it, but it seemed like he wanted to not only prove the naysayers wrong, but he wanted to prove to the naysayers that I can win this game being a pocket passer, almost purely a pocket passer.
Yeah, they did. I completely agree with you. They did change up the game plan from what made them so successful. I mean, 37 attempts for Lamar. I believe it was 37.
Yeah,
But like I said, only hitting on roughly about half of those. That's not championship football, especially not throwing an interception,
20 of
critical
30,
interception.
20 of 37.
Yeah, that's not going to do it, man.
And,
And
and, and he's normally more accurate than that, but it's not because he's doing, but his attempts to runs are more imbalanced for them when he does that. Normally, if he hits 20, he threw 25 passes. He threw
yeah,
27 passes. But yeah,
how many attempts did the running backs have?
the running backs, Lamar led rushing 8 carries for 54 yards. Overall, the running backs ran for let me see here. The running backs, oh my God, this is crazy. Lamar had 8 carries. Gus Edwards had 3 carries for 20. Hill had 3 carries for 3 yards. And Zay Flowers had 2 carries for 4 yards. So outside of Lamar, his running backs had 8 carries and he had 8 carries.
Well, Zay Flowers is a wide receiver, so really the running backs had 6 carries for the game
Yeah, if you take away the receiver, and I think he got those on like in the rounds and
in the
stuff.
rounds. Yeah,
But if you take the 2 actual running backs, you're right. 6 carries for 23 yards. Lamar had 8 for 54.
that's on Harbaugh too, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Good
And
God.
Edwards, out of the bunch, 6.7 a carry. Lamar had 6.8.
Now, if you're the coach for the Baltimore Ravens and you're going into that game, what would your game plan be?
Oh my God. RPO, run the ball. Uh, you saw Kansas City a lot of times have a spy on Lamar, and they did that to make sure that they contained him. That's
Hmm.
fine. But if you use your other backs, now you're sitting, if you use your backs effectively, now you're in a position to set up your passing game. Now you're in a position to start running more play action and things like that because they have to now hesitate not only to make sure Lamar doesn't have the ball, but make sure that one of them damn running backs don't have the ball. Man,
Exactly. You said the key word.
here's another stat that is just crazy. What happens when you run the ball? You control the time of
You
possession.
control the time of possession, and that's what I was getting at.
22 minutes for the
Yeah.
Ravens, 37 minutes for the Chiefs.
The Chiefs almost 2 times as much. You look, man. That's why I asked you that question of like, if you were the coach, what would you do?
Yeah.
Because you just kind of said it. RPOs, misdirection, keep them off balance, keep running the ball, keep running and controlling the clock, keep Patrick Mahomes on
On
the
the sideline.
sidelines. That
Exactly.
is the key to the
Thank
game. That should have been the game plan. You got 2 good, healthy running backs. I would have been pounding the ball that way.
Yeah.
RPO misdirection is going to take Chris Jones out of the game, and he was
Mhm.
a huge factor in that game because he was
But
blowing up the middle,
woo,
coming at
yes, it
Lamar
was.
every single down. Um, so yeah, I don't know what Harbaugh was thinking. I don't know what Lamar was thinking, but I think they may have overthought this one. And
I think they did. I think they
yeah,
sat there and said, okay, regular season, forget it. Now let's just try something different. Why? It
why,
was
man?
what you did that won you the 12 games. Why would you then lose your identity. It's like the person you were got you to where you needed to be. And then when you needed to be that person the most, you decided that it was a good idea to do a quick change up. Why? Makes no sense at all. What's
None.
up, Anthony? Anthony says that shows Lamar ain't no passing quarterback. You can't depend on Lamar's arm to arm the whole game. Well, Anthony, yes, because Lamar proved it himself. He
Yeah,
proved something that he didn't need to prove. All he had to prove is that I can play my style of football and it's good enough to get us where we need to go. That's all he had to do. He did not have to prove that he could be Joe Burrow standing in the pocket, that he could be Justin Herbert standing in the pocket, that he could be Tua Tagovailoa standing in the pocket. He didn't have to prove that to us. He didn't do that all year. We saw his legs. We saw him being very accurate because he did not make a lot of those throws. He relied heavily on Isaiah Likely once Mark Andrews went down, and Isaiah Likely became a very viable target for him. Being able to pass to Likely did open it up for guys like Duvernay and Odell Beckham Jr. He was forcing it. He got greedy on that interception in the end zone. He didn't need to get it into the end zone. There were shorter passes in front of him, but he decided to throw in the triple coverage for no effing reason.
that was the easiest interception of any playoff game I've ever seen.
I'm just like, when I saw him let it go, I'm like, what are you doing? Why?
Yeah,
And I kept looking at it. I'm just like, what was your read that made you think? Now, if you thought he was going to come back out of the end zone to catch that ball, okay. But it was obvious he was doing a deep fly route, call it a 9, into the end zone, and then he curled to make it a 9. The 9 is the number. But even before he went into his break, there were 3 guys around him.
yeah. That
You
ball
had
had no chance.
you
It
had a
had no chance.
you had a chance in your read to go, wait a minute. Yeah, I got him on the 9. They're covering that 9. It's not like you threw a 50-50 ball up in the air over the shoulder
Exactly.
going towards the out of bounds. You threw it straight.
Yeah,
Well,
and not only
he would have to become the Flash and phase through the guy. Oh,
yeah, not only was the ball like, I mean, not only was the ball not a 50-50 ball like you were saying, but it was underthrown. It was badly underthrown as well.
exactly.
And the guy was covered to begin with. So, I mean, it was just disaster written all over. It had zero chance. But like you said in the beginning, he had no business even throwing that ball in that situation. No.
I was more worried that when the guy caught the ball, intercepted it, I thought he was totally surprised, and it almost seemed like nature was about to take over, and he was about to run it out the end zone. And I was like, "Sit your ass down, sit
I
down."
know. He was so shocked he didn't know what to do. He's just kind of running around.
I was like, sit down. Because you don't want to
like,
get tackled on the 1 yard line or the 2 yard line. That'd be crazy. So,
he's like, oh God, I got the ball. Wow. Hey mom, I'm on TV.
oh my gosh, unbelievable. Anthony says, I would say this every week. Signing OBJ was a waste of money, and Mark Andrews coming back was a waste too. Well, yeah, I mean, well, listen, I wouldn't say signing Odell was a waste of money. What I
I
would
would.
what I would say is, well, yeah, because of what they paid him.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, I would have said signing him with the expectation that that was the piece that you needed to get you over the hump. The expectations that went along. Oh man, we got OBJ. We got OBJ. He gonna be catching balls with one hand. Oh, yeah, that's a special kind of crack up in Baltimore. Really, it is. But but yeah. Now having that expectation that signing him. Now, if you sign him with the expectation that he's going to be the 3rd wide receiver, 4th wide receiver, change up guy, whatever, a locker room guy, whatever, that's one thing. You signing him, telling me now that gives Lamar additional pieces. No, that was crazy. Now,
Yeah.
Mark Andrews for Lamar is old reliable. He's been a safety blanket for him for years. He he's just that guy that when the receivers can't seem to get open or catch some of the balls that Lamar throws, Mark Andrews seems to have this chemistry and relationship with Odell. So I didn't have a problem with Andrews coming back. I was more than impressed with the way that Isaiah Likely stepped up into that role and flourished during his time. And what it told me was, you know what? I don't know about the receivers, but I know from the tight end position, if the OC starts to come up with more 21 package plays where you've got tight ends on each side and actually have them chip block and then either work out slants to where they catch the ball and they're right at they can go straight out of bounds for those 4 to 5 yard catches. Yeah, let them or let one of them run or run a double slant where one is running out, one is curving in, and now you've got two tight ends basically in between your defensive backs and your defensive line, and you can kind of get some middle yards there. Opportunities, especially when they do stuff like zone coverage and things like that, not man, but when they do zones and you run plays like that, yeah, those tight ends could really, really, really hurt. It's just more of dinking and ducking because they're going to give you 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. But it's a good way that if they are running a strong 4-man front up the middle, it negates that middle guy because now he can't get back quick enough to get to those tight ends before they get those extra 4 or 5 yards. So having Isaiah Likely out there, very good hands on the kid. So very, very promising. Mark Andrews isn't going to get any younger. So that could also give you an idea to believe that Isaiah Likely will likely end up becoming the next Mark Andrews on that team. Or if you start to have to make a decision of who to bring back and you start looking at Andrews up for another contract, whenever that is, having Likely on the team could give you a little bit more confidence that if Mark Andrews was to hit free agency, you still have a capable catching and blocking tight end.
I tell you, what else was a waste of time, Anthony? The Baltimore Ravens bringing back Ray Lewis, thinking they're gonna get some kind of bump off of that. And that was a
Oh, they did.
complete
They did that with Terrell Suggs. He came out. They
Terrell
turned the
Suggs
lights
as
off.
well. Yeah,
Suggs. They
yeah.
turned the lights out. Suggs came out there, pumped
Oh
everybody
yeah.
up. And
Oh yeah. How many points they score?
3. After he did that, they got 3. You know, hell, you might as well sat there, got the ball to the 45-yard line, and just let Justin Tucker keep kicking them. He would have hit him. Shit, you could have won the game that way.
Yeah. As soon as I saw Terrell Suggs come out, I was like, okay, that's cute. That's cute. But
I thought, man, I'm like, that's what y'all needing right now.
yeah.
Y'all need his old ass to help. Yeah, okay, all right then, all right, Suggs, go do what you do. Or I don't know if I bring Suggs out because that would be my reminder that that's the last time we were really significant. So, and Anthony says Travis Kelce balls out because Justin Tucker was warming up next to the Patriot. Next to Patrick. Kim says, "Hey, let's go Chiefs." There you go, Kim. How you doing, cuz?
Right.
Kelsey didn't need that kind of inspiration. He had other kinds of inspiration. He was good. He was good. He got a little red lipstick girl coming up on the field after the game. He knew. Yeah, he good. Travis good right now. But yeah, so just for that game alone, that was just crazy. Like I said, I looked at the time of possession ran, and it was just absolutely ridiculous. And you were absolutely right. The best way to affect Patrick Mahomes is to turn your head while you on the field and see him on the sidelines. But every opportunity you give Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce to do something special on the field, that's another time when, hey, we can't trade field goals for touchdowns. We have to almost have these perfect drives. These drives can't be quick. We can't have all these 3 and outs and stuff like that. They sacked Lamar 4 times. So they had a really good game plan with the spy. The spy was there to basically dare Lamar to throw the ball. They were basically saying, we don't think you can be accurate enough to keep driving because he was trying to drive the ball. Wasn't that he was just trying to get some dump off passes, check downs, or anything. It's like he'd never known what a check down was. He thought every pass had to go for 20 yards or more.
Yeah, it's like he tried to show out in front of the home crowd and kind of
Yeah,
backfired on him.
it did. It really did. So, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. They basically proved, even in the AFC, that even with Buffalo still kind of hanging around with their window of opportunity, the Dolphins kind of showing us that they can't beat meaningful teams. Um, you had the Raiders have to fire their coach, not worth a damn. You had the Broncos and the whole fiasco with Russell Wilson. You had the Texans really outside of the Chiefs really show a whole lot of promise. Now the Colts season got kind of ruined because Richardson went down early. Taylor Swift is a practicing witch, so
Dang.
okay. I
Wow.
I ain't never heard that, Kim. Um, I'm gonna need some backup on that one. Um, Anthony says Ravens' problem was they stopped running the ball. They ran over 16 times plus. I'll put John Harbaugh on the hot seat next year. Yeah, yeah. Well, John gave up his one of his coordinators to his brother. What's up, Zaim? Zaim the Dream has joined us on Instagram. Zaim, when does this single drop? Tell me about your single. Zaim is a recording artist. One third of the uh, Lord, I just lost my train of thought. One third of the legendary Force MDs.
Oh, wow.
But he also does his own solo stuff too. Yeah, but
Awesome.
but they do get together all the time, and everybody still wants to hear tender love.
Love is a house.
Love is us, LCC. Yeah, that's right. They still do that. They've got some new stuff coming out too, and um, we used to work together. He said February 19th, his birthday. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Zaim, I will like to say that when I went to my when I went into my Instagram today, I saw this post of this woman with cakes, and I could barely set up my link for the show on Instagram because it's still actually my view right now is covering it, but as soon as I close it after the show, I'm gonna still see this lady with these cakes. I need her phone number because whatever she wants me to do, I'm gonna be like Usher. I'm about to risk it all. Woo! Yes, I'm about to risk it all. He says we are in the Southern Soul charts top 10. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Hey, it's time for us to do another interview. We got to do a catch up interview on the show and everything. I like to spotlight Zaim and a lot of his work too. This is the one guy that I saw do a cover on one of Maxwell's songs in falsetto, and Maxwell actually responded to him talking about, "Don't be trying to take my job," uh, because he did it so well. This brother got some chops on him. So
I imagine so.
y'all check out Zaim the Dream on all of the platforms. He has a couple of singles out there too, so y'all check him out. Anthony just said, Kim says, Randall, are you some kin to the Hargroves in Shelby?
No Shelby Hargroves. My Hargroves are down eastern North Carolina side. Actually, Green Evers, Duplin County. So
Okay,
country.
yeah, backwoods. So love you, fam. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you, brother. Hey, you too. You too. Tell us, Stevie D and Khalil, what's up? Oh man, those are my guys there. And Anthony says, just don't drug her like Bill Cosby. I don't have to drug no women. All I do is point, Anthony. I don't know what you got to do to get a woman. I just point.
This show has come off the tracks.
I'm old school, bro. I just point. This is where you go. This is what you do. And Kim says, okay. All right. So anyway, yeah. So going back to the Super Bowl, that's what we were talking about. So we got the Kansas City Chiefs on one side, and they will be up against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I did pick the Detroit Lions to represent the NFC, and it was almost there for the taking. The Lions jumped out to an early lead. They were actually up at halftime 24-7, and that was because McCaffrey ran a late touchdown in the second quarter to even give them the 7 points. This was an amazing game. She said, okay, back to football. This was an amazing game in the first half because it really looked like that Detroit was just doing anything they wanted to the 49ers. I remember saying specifically that Brock Purdy can be had. It's not just enough to have Ayuk, McCaffrey, Samuel, Kittle, all those guys on the team because they are ball dependent. The quarterback has to get the ball in their hands. And we've seen some games where Brock Purdy seemed like he was off a little bit. I mean, you got to remember, at the end of the day, every time Brock Purdy wins a game for you, you're playing with house money. He was the last pick in the draft.
Yep.
He's going to the Super Bowl. Right, Sean? He wasn't the first round. Dude still has a roommate because his salary ain't that high. So San Francisco is making well, I ain't gonna say they're making out too much because they did give up 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance that they still having to pay for. But that's a whole nother story.
Kind of balances out, don't it?
Yeah, it does. It does, because now you but you're winning with the guy that you thought was just gonna be on your practice squad, if that. Again, it goes to prove that we may just be overvaluing these positions too much, where we put so much value into these blue chip quarterbacks that you're winning games with, guys that were drafted last. So once you get to the NFL, though, it ain't about where you drafted. How do you play? Can you play football? That's all it's gonna come down to. Brock Purdy, I'm gonna say, woke up after halftime. A lot of that was Brock Purdy after the half.
Absolutely.
They did a lot of stuff at the beginning of the game, and Brock just could not get going, get into a rhythm. They shook him up. The Detroit Lions did what they did best. They decided, you know what? We're going to try to run the ball down their throats. And run the ball they did. David Montgomery, 15 carries, 93 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 carries, 45 yards. Even Jameson Williams broke off a 42-yarder. So between all of their running backs, they had over 182 yards rushing.
Yep. Shout out to offensive coordinator Ben Johnson for the Detroit Lions. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful game plan. This guy is such a hot, sought after commodity that he's got all these interviews lined up for head coaching jobs. Well, good news for Detroit. He's turned them all down, and he will be coming back to the Lions again next year. So, yeah, Ben Johnson is a super talented OC. The Lions ain't going nowhere next year, but they definitely blew their chance this year.
We'll talk about that too. Kim says, I got a nice autograph from Jerry Rice, and he also called me baby. Kim, I'm sure that was your highlight right there. I think Jerry Rice called everybody on the field baby, though. He looks like a guy that would call everybody baby. But anyway, it's special for you. Anthony says, I'll use the second comment first because the first one is going to lead me into my question. Anthony said that would be great being a roommate to a maybe Super Bowl champ. It'd be great, period. Just knowing that this guy was looked over and is going to the Super Bowl. How many other quarterbacks were picked over this guy that are sitting on the couch? Or if they're lucky, they're going to be paying $9,800 for a Super Bowl ticket.
Purdy is already won. Despite what he does in the Super Bowl, he is already won.
The fact that he's there.
He's there.
He won.
And everybody and all his critics said that he couldn't get there.
Mm-hmm.
He's there. He's there.
He's there. Anthony also said Lions lose because of Dan Campbell. Now, outside of this game, Anthony, we would agree to disagree on that. Because I have seen these guys for the last 4 years play harder because of Dan Campbell. Um, they wouldn't do it, Matt Patricia. They wouldn't do it with all these other guys. They ain't seen these guys play like this since Jim Caldwell was there. Um, these guys believe in Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell, to a fault, reciprocates that love and trust by sometimes overplaying his hand to show confidence in his team. But it's a double-edged sword, and it can come back to bite you. There were 2 fourth down plays where Dan Campbell decided to go for it. And there's a lot of time. He is the most fourth down going for coach there is. And it's really tied to the fact that he feels like it is a confidence booster for his team to say, hey, I believe you guys can go get them 3 yards on fourth down.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with him on most occasions, but I think you have to understand the weight of the circumstances in front of you when you make some of those calls.
Yeah. I think Dan Campbell gets a pass. It's his first time in the playoffs. You're looking at a head coach that single-handedly changed the entire culture of a losing organization. And I'm not talking losing organization for a decade. I'm talking several decades. The Lions had not been to the playoffs since 1991. This man comes in sounding like a pro wrestler, talking about biting off kneecaps, and nobody took him serious. But now he's got his players running through walls for him and winning their first playoff game since 91 and in the NFC Championship, 1/2 away from the Super Bowl. They had some critical things that went bad down the stretch. Now, some of them fourth downs, the execution was there, man, and the ball was dropped. I know Johnson dropped one for real that was right in the both of his hands. That would have been conversion. So I can't put it all on Campbell, but I do agree. You kind of have to relax a little bit on that and realize where you're at in the moment and maybe take the points. But then again, I'm like looking at the analytics of it all. The first one, or was it the second one? I can't remember. The other option was a 48-yard field goal, and that's no gimme. Especially with the kicker that they had, who has struggled from the outside. I think his percentage over 40 yards was around 55%. That's not strong enough. So
yeah, I mean, if you're 50-50 on your field goal,
yeah,
I mean, you're about that on your fourth and 3 or whatever it was.
Exactly. So you kind of can't blame them for that one now.
And I know the idea was too, if we can just get that first down, maybe we can take the air out of the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
Now we're going to force them to have to continue to play catch up. And a lot of times when you have to play that much catch up, it wears the team out.
Yeah, it drains them psychologically too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just imagine if the Lions have gotten a touchdown before the halftime, and now they're up 31-7. That would have been it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But and you're right. But in the I was going to say the Pistons, Lord, the Lions are going to be around for a while. You got some young guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown, boy, that brother showed up. Jameson Williams showed up. Sam Laporta, the tight end, had more catches than all of them. Hey, do not sleep on Laporta.
That's the new Kittle.
Everybody talking about Kittle and Kelsey, and rightfully so. Even Isaiah likely looks like he's going to be one around for a while too. But Sam Laporta needs to be in the conversation with a lot of those guys. Maybe
Big
not
time.
Kelsey, but he's going to definitely carve out some space as well. So look out for Sam Laporta. I think Jared Goff proved that he was worthy of continuing to be the quarterback of that team, because I remember a couple years ago, they were trying to make a decision, even though they had traded Stafford for Goff, how much longer Goff was actually going to be a viable option as the number one on that team. And he really proved, and a lot of that's Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell put 100% faith, I'll say 150% faith behind Jared Goff, and he didn't disappoint him.
Oh, he
I think
did.
I think that's all Jared really needed, was a coach to really believe that he could do what the Rams said he couldn't do. And he was one game away from proving them wrong.
San Francisco is no easy place to play at, especially not for the playoffs on the road like that. Goff was not shaken at all by the bright lights.
At all.
Been there before, man. Been there before.
Yeah. He definitely played within himself. He didn't do anything. He didn't turn the ball over. I mean, he had one touchdown. He didn't have any interceptions. So it wasn't anything like that. It was just a matter of the 49ers woke up and just went buck wild. They even started rushing really hard. They had 155 yards rushing. You look at C-Mac. C-Mac did his thing, 20 carries. Again, even when you're behind, pounding the ball, 20 carries is a lot for a dual threat running back. 20 carries, 90 yards. But one of the things was Brock Purdy did a Patrick Mahomes. He started extending plays with his own legs.
Yeah.
When he was getting bottled up, couldn't find guys down the field. He took off and ran 5 times for 48 yards. That's 9.6 yards a run.
Yeah, man.
So,
and that's one thing I could give to San Francisco. Even when they were down 24-7, they never stopped playing 49er football.
Exactly.
They played the exact same way they had been all year long, and it got them back in the game. And when it became a new game, they took it over.
Now, I think one of the plays that basically just gave them extra momentum was the Brandon Ayuk catch, where it bounced off of a player. Somehow Ayuk had the presence of mind as he was tumbling to catch the ball, roll, and secure it. That had to be one of the most unbelievable catches I've seen.
That was awesome.
That was just crazy. When they needed a play the most. And this is what I'm talking about. Now, people may say, well, Brian, you always talk about the quarterback having to be a force multiplier and stuff like that. Well, I think Brock Purdy kind of was in a lot of ways, because how many other quarterbacks went through that pass? There were a lot of passes that he threw that, unless you're confident in what you do, just being a simple game manager, you're not going to throw that pass.
No.
Throw a lot of non-game manager passes and open up some of those passes up to being potentially picked out. I saw him throwing the triple coverage one time, but he threaded the needle so beautifully they never had a chance.
You're talking about the touchdown pass to Ayuk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Lord. Yes. If he did not put that right on target and on time, it could have been picked off.
Yes.
That is not a pass that you would rely on a quote unquote game manager to throw.
And here's the thing too, B. They had to have it. And he went and he got it.
That's
the difference. That's the difference.
Dude got ice in his veins.
Yep.
He was the last pick of the draft. He's playing with house money, low expectations. If he didn't make it, Rand, if he had stunk up the joint, everybody would have said, well, he was Mr. Irrelevant. He had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
How loose can you play like that? It's easy for me sitting on my couch to say he was loose. I'm sure he wasn't loose, because he's like, you know what? I got all these superstars around me. If I don't do my part, they ain't gonna get no blame. If we lose this game, they're not gonna blame C-Mac. They ain't gonna blame Debo. They ain't gonna blame Ayuk. They're not gonna blame Kittle. They're gonna look at me and say, Brock, what happened? Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I guess there is some pressure in that, but at the end of the day, you can say, hey, I'm Mr. Irrelevant. He handles
it well. He handles it well.
Yeah, he's really playing himself into a contract negotiation, especially if they win the Super Bowl. they're gonna have to go ahead and pay him, just because of the system. Again, now here's two questions, Rand. Do the 49ers win in spite of their quarterback, because Kyle Shanahan is a quarterback whisperer, or is this more or less Brock Purdy putting his stamp on the NFL and basically ringing the bell to let everybody know that, hey, this is not just Kyle Shanahan's doing, this is me?
The latter, homie, the latter. Brock Purdy, like you were saying, he put that ball in between defenders for that touchdown that they had to have to be back in that game. And in a situation that everybody knew it was going to be a pass, everybody knew that he was probably going at Ayuk, and he still got that ball in there. That man is unflappable.
Yeah.
I saw him get hit and take some big time punishment in that game. He just kept on getting back up and coming back at them. Purdy,
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
You know what I really saw too, the toughness of this kid when he took up. He realized the one thing that quarterbacks have to realize is when it's time to go. You go through your progressions, you go through your reads. I give this kid a lot of credit. He goes through his reads. He has his hot read, he has a secondary read, he has his third read. He goes through all of his progressions.
You can see it.
You can see him do it.
Yeah.
But then when he realizes that, okay, everybody's covered and it's time to take off and run, he ran. And then on one of his runs, it looked like he was doing the quarterback thing. He gonna run to the sidelines. No, this little SOB sit there decide, hell, I can get more yards. So he cuts back in and gets even more yards.
Yep.
Because he's tough. He runs into the line of fire. Man, them some big ones on him. That boy got some big ones.
Yes,
He could have ran for 5 yards and take a little quarterback slide like a little baseball player. He said, I'm trying to get to the chip.
He was going to win.
He ran into the fire because he's like, we need these yards. He understood.
And he's done it all year. He's done it all year long. I saw him the first game of the season where he came into Pittsburgh and just lit my boys a new one.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So, yeah, congratulations, Brock. Some excellent play. Anthony said, I'm going to use his second comment first again because it's interesting. He says, Purdy will reset the quarterback market soon. Watch. Well, Anthony, I think every time a quarterback signs, they keep resetting the quarterback market, honestly, because all they do is they get their agent to spill out to the team what the last guy got and use that in their negotiations. Now, the problem with Purdy is whether he gets to the Super Bowl or not, but more importantly, if they win the Super Bowl, he'll have even more leverage.
Oh, yeah. They're going to lock him up long term. There's no doubt about that.
And you know what? They better do it sooner than later. If they win the Super Bowl, even if they don't, you better go ahead and pay him now, because if you wait till his contract expires, it's going to cost you a whole lot more. And I'm sure they can say, well, we could franchise him. That ain't going to go over.
Still going to cost you.
That's going to cost you a lot of money because he's going to have to be top 5 in his position.
Yep.
That's still going to put him in the range of 55 to 60 mil a year. Yeah, you better do one of them home quarterback friendly contracts. Sign into a 10-year contract, and then every couple of years you just renegotiate it and give him and front load some of his money to him, so it can be a quarterback friendly. Because the problem with a team like the 49ers is when you've got Brock that's going to end up with a payday. You mean to tell me that McCaffrey ain't sat there and basically warranted another payday? You ain't gonna tell me that Ayuk ain't warranted a payday? You gonna tell me that Debo ain't warranted a payday? Maybe not this off season, but coming soon. So those are gonna have to be things that when you're a general manager, these are the things that keep you up at night. Is not only can we win this chip, but can we run it back? Can we keep this team together long enough to be able to be a force in our conference for years to come. That's going to be their challenge is, can we keep this together?
Yeah. One good thing about them is they got a young quarterback that they've got Super Bowl services out of on a rookie contract. So that's a very good thing.
That's a crazy thing.
That's a
That-
crazy thing.
Especially when once you get into those later rounds and everything is pretty much drew up on a scale, he was the last guy drafted.
Yeah. Did not even take him in the first, second, or third, or fifth.
Or six. Yeah, crazy. The second question, which was the first one that Anthony put on here, who you got your money on going for next year, Lions or the Ravens?
I got my money on the Lions, and I'll tell you why. The
Yeah.
Lions are already set up defensively. They're already set up offensively. They're in a division that's way more easier to handle than the division that the Baltimore Ravens are in. The
Hmm.
Baltimore Ravens are going to have to slug it out with my boys, Cleveland, and a healthy Cincinnati for the upcoming year. That is some tough sledding. And on top of that, the Baltimore Ravens just lost their defensive coordinator. He just got hired as a head coach somewhere. I forget where. But that's going to have an impact too, because that man was good.
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah.
He went to Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, he did. Okay. Okay. So now is there only one opening? Is that Washington?
Yep. And like I said before, the Lions are keeping their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, and he's one of the best in the game. So the Lions, man, you asked me who I got my money on, definitely Detroit.
And before I give you my answer, I did want to give big ups to Mr. Steve Wilkes, former interim coach of the Carolina Panthers, also former West Charlotte Lion,
Good to
Dub
see.
C. You know, that's right. Former defensive back at Appalachian State University. So congratulations to Coach. We all rooting for you from the QC down here in Charlotte, North Kakalaki. Proud of you, bro. Um, because you did do some great things on defense in that second half when they needed you the most. Bosa
Sure
was
did.
a freaking beast. Turner was a freaking beast, blowing up everything. Even when they was throwing those little smoke routes and stuff like that, blowing them up in the backfield, throwing passes for loss, because they were reading those plays so well. So great job on the defense for Coach Wilkes, no doubt. Anthony, if you only give me those two, Ravens or the Lions, I'm going to go Lions because the Lions haven't let me down year after year. Um, they seem to be ahead of schedule. Um, the problem with the Ravens is the same problem I have with the Buffalo Bills. Once you get up to a certain point, your window of opportunity only stays open so long. To Rand's point, yes, the NFC North looks like it is retooling fast. It does look like Minnesota. I mean, every time you got Jefferson on your team, you got a chance. But it looks like Minnesota is not going to have to totally blow up that team. They could be coming back soon. Green Bay has given me reason to believe that Aaron who is where they're at. Jordan Love seems to have shown some promise. Now we'll see. We'll see how Jordan Love really approaches next year because now teams have a full year game tape on the kid. So they're going to learn his tendencies and stuff like that. So we'll have to see if year two in that seat will be a continuation or if he's going to have a second year relapse, so to speak. So we'll see. But just from the eyeball test, it looks like it's going to be a competitive conference. But the problem is you still got some other non-competitive conferences, non-competitive divisions in the NFC, whether it's the NFC East. Don't know what's going to go on with Philadelphia. Is Dallas going to be the king of the East again? The NFC South is still a god damn. It's just it's a f up. The NFC South is just it's trash. The West um, is not that appealing either. So could you get two teams out of the NFC North? Yeah, hell, you might be able to get three, depending on how it goes. So how they play out of their division would matter the most. But the NFC is not that strong. Rand mentioned just playing in the AFC North not to mention the rest of the AFC, is going to be a problem for the Baltimore Ravens. Um, One reason is whether it's Pittsburgh, Cleveland, or Cincinnati, you have to play them twice, and you only get to do it one time at home. So all of those games, throw records out and everything else, that's going to be really hard for the Ravens. It really is. Um, I don't know. I don't see the Ravens winning their division next year, but that's far off. I just don't see it happening.
Nope.
And then they're going to be back in the same spot they're normally in. If they do make it to the playoffs, they got to go on the road. They got to play in the wild card.
We've already seen that movie.
I've already seen that movie. So the Lions give me more upside and more promise to believe they, with an opportunity, learn what you learned from this experience, and you'll be ready for the next one. Yeah, you give me those two options, I'm going Lions.
And that's what it is, man. It's the playoffs are a different beast. First time in the playoffs, you're gonna take your lumps. And then you're gonna learn, lick your wounds, and you'll come back and you'll do things better the next time that you get that opportunity. The young Lions receivers, except for Ahmad St. Brown, he wasn't dropping anything.
Nope.
But you had some drops from Williams, you had some drops from the other guy, I'm forgetting his name. You know, those things, if they are on the team next year, I mean, those will be learning lessons. They'll be corrected. They'll come back and they'll do things better. Even the defensive backs who gave up a lot of yards to San Francisco in the second half, they'll figure things out, come back stronger next year.
I believe that.
That's my belief anyway. And even the mistakes that Campbell made, I mean, you know, hey, it was his first NFC championship game.
But you know what? I will give Dan Campbell for this. Those things got him there.
Exactly. They got him there. That kind of play, that kind of aggression got him there. So you can't take that away from him.
Yeah, he didn't pull a Lamar and said the things that got me here, I'm gonna act like they didn't and just be something else and do something else. He did not change the character of that team one freaking bit. Who they were that got them there is who San Francisco almost took an L from.
Yep. And you know what? It's hard to believe to say this to some people, but those players in the locker room, they're okay with that loss because their coach believed they could do it. So they're okay with it. I don't say they like it. They're okay with it because their coach had that much faith in them getting the job done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So now we've got the 49ers. And we got the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep. Rematch.
Now I know we got a show next week. We can have our final picks there if you want. We got a week to think about it, but to analyze early looking at it, it appears on paper that the 49ers have more weapons. Let's be honest. But if there's any quarterback that has done more with less, it's been Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Now, aside from Isaiah Pacheco running the hell out of that ball, the receivers are very slim pickings. When you look at San Francisco's weapons, it's kind of funny. It's the reverse. You worry more about San Francisco's quarterback and less about the skill position players. For the Chiefs, you worry less about the quarterback and more about their skill position players.
Yeah.
Both defenses are pretty good.
Yes, they are.
So really it comes down to which offense is going to be able to play their style of ball and get their team ahead early and not have to play from behind. San Francisco, the last two games, fortunately or unfortunately, ended up in big deficits and had to figure out how to overcome those deficits. It is good to know you can, but you don't want to keep poking that bear too many times to think that you can always keep coming back from deficits. It does something to you. It really does. It takes a lot out of you. You run out of gas. So what team can establish their game plan, drive the ball, manage the clock, keep the other team's quarterback on the sidelines is going to be who wins that game. I'll ask you next show who wins that game. We will have now the NFL honors again. Forgive me, I think it's tomorrow, but then again, I think it's actually next week. I think it's normally after the Pro Bowl and the Thursday before the actual Super Bowl. So I don't think it's tomorrow. I think it is a week. But just kind of looking at the way that the season wrapped up, Rand, any early favorites for MVP? Are we in agreement that it's Lamar?
Well,
could it still possibly be McCaffrey?
I guess it would be Lamar, man.
I don't think honestly, I don't think it should.
Yeah.
If anybody says, do you think he should be the MVP? I'm going to say no. But I think the cake has already been baked because I think that the voting probably has already taken place.
Yeah, and the propensity to give it to quarterbacks is always there.
And that part I hate too.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the quarterback has to be the MVP. The way McCaffrey played consistently throughout the entire season, in my opinion, I would still, just because of the consistency aspect, not because of the last couple of games or whatever, but from start to finish, McCaffrey's been that dude. So I don't know why. I don't know why just because Lamar got hot late that would be any kind of thing on him. I mean, when you look at it this way, McCaffrey led the league in rushing with 1,400 yards. The next closest back was Derrick Henry, of course, with 1,100. So C-Mac had almost 300 yards more than Derrick Henry. C-Mac rushed for 14 touchdowns.
And that's just his groundwork.
That's his groundwork
through the air too.
Yeah, he had 9 runs of 20 yards or more. He had 3 runs of 40 yards or more, and his longest run was 72 yards.
Yeah, and that's why I hesitated when you asked me that question, because it's like the case for McCaffrey is stronger, but you
whole
just,
body of work.
Yeah, you just know what the NFL is going to do. They're going to give it to Lamar. He's a quarterback.
I hate that though, because it's weak sauce because they already bake into the cake. Okay, we got half of the cake already made. Now we got to put a quarterback in it. But what about some of the other ingredients? Nah, it doesn't matter. Put a quarterback in it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a filter. McCaffrey's there, all these other players could be there, and then you run them through a filter, and the filter siphons out everything but quarterbacks. Why? I don't get it. So my vote would be for McCaffrey, but I feel like they're going to give it to Lamar Jackson. Now, here's the crazy part. Lamar, when you look at passing yards and things like that, which if you're gonna say a quarterback, normally it's the guy that throws a whole lot of yards. These are all the quarterbacks in front of Lamar Jackson when it comes to yards. Jalen Hurts, Derek Carr, Sam Howell, Matthew Stafford, Sunshine, your favorite Baker Mayfield, CJ Stroud was in the top 10, Jordan Love, Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Josh Allen, Dak, Jared, and Tua.
It's crazy, right?
All those guys.
Yeah.
All those guys.
And I sound like a true hater if I said Lamar doesn't deserve to be MVP.
He threw for 24 touchdowns, 7 picks. Tua threw 29 touchdowns, 14 picks. CJ Stroud threw 23 touchdowns and 5 picks.
And 24 touchdown passes in 17 games is not even MVP numbers, man.
Nope. And that's what I'm saying. Stroud had 23, so he only had 1 less, but he threw for 500 yards more. He threw 2 less picks. So they're the same. Hey, I'll give you even a crazier one. Baker Mayfield threw 400 yards more, 28 touchdowns and 10 picks.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
there's a lot of other guys. Jordan Love threw 32 touchdowns.
and
32.
here's the thing too, is like just the base definition of most valuable player. You remove Lamar off of those Ravens squads. What happened when that happened last year? They
Mhm.
continued to win with the backup.
Right. Right.
Whereas, CMC off of that 49er squad was a struggle for them.
It was. It
Yeah.
was. He had to add the dynamic of the running game to really make them like a triple threat. You really had to worry about this team, and especially the way that Shanahan decided to use McCaffrey. Sometimes he's in the backfield, sometimes he's in the slot, sometimes he splits, sometimes he goes in motion. He came up with a lot of exotic offense patterns to keep the defenses on their toes. Anthony said that it's Lamar by default, but it's really CMC. Yeah, I know. And then he
Yeah.
said Baker is winning comeback player of the year. I'd vote for him for that.
Yeah, I can't take that away from them.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, you know what? As much as I say, but you know what? And I'll say this about Baker. Baker took advantage of his opportunity. Baker is exactly what we said, though. He has to have all of the right things around him to succeed. He
Yeah.
had all of those right things around him, and we were proven to be correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You got a decent defense.
One of the
They
better offensive lines in the league.
exactly, exactly. You got Vita Veo on the other side, sitting there blowing up offenses too. So you got some pieces on that team that with Baker having to not overreach and play above himself and just play within himself gives him a chance to be successful. When he has to play hero ball and go around acting like he got to headbutt people without a helmet on and stuff like that because he's the littlest guy out there, he gets into trouble. But when Baker can just be Baker, because he has everything around him that complements him, he has an opportunity. And to his credit, he took advantage of that opportunity. I
Yep.
take nothing away from it.
Nope.
I ain't see it coming, but I don't take nothing away from him. CJ
Yeah.
Stroud still outplayed him. Jordan Love still outplayed him. Of course, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Dak, and Jarrett outplayed him as well. But the fact that he was right up in there, that does say a lot. He outplayed Derek Carr. He outplayed Jalen Hurts. He outplayed Matthew Stafford. He outplayed Geno. He outplayed Justin Herbert. I ain't gonna bring up Bryce Young. He outplayed,
Hey, no need.
the others of the others. So he had some success. So I will definitely give Baker Mayfield comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
Definitely,
I don't disagree with that at all.
definitely should get that. As far as rookie offensive player of the year, I'm still on CJ Stroud.
Absolutely. I don't even know who's second. CJ all day. All
Yeah,
day.
I think he's first, second, and third.
Yeah.
I don't know who gets even any first ballot consideration on that. I think it's a runaway. Um, I think CJ just proved himself to be a guy that can play even when the spotlight is the brightest. This kid just has ice in his veins and just goes out there. He's a football player. You
Yeah.
can call him quarterback, you can call him whatever. He's a football player.
And this is the thing with the Texans. They're in a similar spot with Detroit, in that they are going to be back next year too. They
They'll be
did
around.
not lose. Yep, they didn't lose their offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick. He's coming back. He decided not to take a head coaching job, so that's a big notch in the belt of CJ Stroud, to keep that consistency going into year number 2. The Texans will be back, man.
When you think about your defensive player of the year, is it Bosa again?
Oh man, you know where I'm going with this one.
I know you. I know you like Watt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I know
To
you
me,
like
he's just a quarterback on the defense, man. And you've seen what happened with Pittsburgh when he's not out there versus
every
when he
time,
is out
every
there.
time,
Every
every
time.
time.
Yeah.
Every time he goes out, the the character, the identity of that defense changes
Yeah.
instantly.
Yeah.
Instantly. So I mean, I can't fight you on why. Um, I know if I'm a 49ers fan, people are gonna bring up Bosa.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Cleveland fans are also going to bring up their
oh my
defensive end
God,
too. Yeah. Yeah.
Garrett.
Yeah. Garrett.
Oh my God, hey, if you are a quarterback, you want to know what side of the field Garrett is on.
Yeah. You better hope you can see him.
What's up, Jessica? She said, "Go Chiefs." All right, Jessica, I know you're no Chiefs fan. Um,
Kansas
that
City representing tonight.
I see. What's up, Jessica? All the way down there in Horry County, Myrtle Beach, South Kakalaki. Um, I need a room. I need a room. Anyway, but yeah, so or you know, your DC for L's are going to bring up Micah Parsons, but you know
Yeah.
what? I saw Micah get exposed a lot more this year,
He
uh,
took a step back this year.
didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Because you kind of saw him teams be able to game plan and neutralize him at times when you didn't even realize he was on the field because he racked up nothing in the stat columns. It's not so
Yeah.
much to get sacks, but to be around the ball, get tackles, assisted tackles, things like that. He just didn't show up for a lot of that stuff. So it was really interesting to kind of
Yeah.
see Micah, be
Especially
game.
when they needed him in that playoff game with the Packers, home game. He disappeared, man.
What was? Do you think too though? Because part of me was, are teams over game planning for Micah, or did he take some plays off?
I don't know. It's like all I know is I did not hear from him come that Green Bay game. I would have to go back and watch some film, but I know his name was not called very often during that
I
game.
remember when Jadeveon Clowney was being questioned about his motive,
Yeah.
uh, about him taking some plays off. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I started kind of seeing some of the same things with Micah, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me if it was more of the fact that teams had already figured out where, um, uh, what's the coach name, coordinator, where
For
he,
Dallas,
yeah,
uh,
is he a Dan too? Is it Dan?
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, I know it's not Campbell. So Dan Quinn did people figure out how Dan Quinn likes to use Micah, or was Micah kind of deciding which plays were going to be more impactful for him to give his all on? I couldn't quite figure that out. But I tell you what, we'll see next year when he's up for contract. We're gonna see which Micah shows up. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be interesting. Anthony says rumors was Chase Young taking plays off. He's not hungry. He's jogging, not running fast. I
I've
saw
heard
him.
that too.
Yeah, I've
I've
heard
heard
that.
that
I
too.
didn't see him
Yeah.
make a few plays on Sunday, but yeah, I've heard that as well. I heard that kind of started in Washington,
Yeah.
uh, and it wasn't really hard for them to part ways with him because of that.
Yeah. I mean, the
But
dude is an athletic freak. He's an absolute beast, but that does not translate to any kind of stats.
yeah,
So
well, and see that's the problem too. I think a lot of these guys come into the league, whether it's a Brian Burns, Michael Parsons, Chase Young, and they're off the charts with their freakish raw abilities. After a while, though, you've got to be more fundamentally sound in that
yeah.
because those things that made you special start to kind of go to the wayside. Ask Cam Newton. Once he couldn't be as proficient as a runner, it affected the rest of his game.
Yep.
Now teams could just sit there and focus in on your footwork and your passing and just make you a regular guy.
All that stuff he got away with at Auburn, he could no longer get away with in the NFL.
That's why little quarterbacks like Kyler Murray, I just have no faith in because it's like, hey, you can do that for a while until you take that one hit. It's going to that one hit going to change who the guy is to get him off the ground.
Yeah. And I know we'll be talking Super Bowl come next show, but let's also talk a little bit of rebuild with the Carolina Panthers and Pittsburgh
Absolutely.
Steelers as well next year. I mean, for the next show.
Okay.
I got a few little tidbits I want to throw in on that too.
Mm,
Congratulations to the Panthers on their hire of Dave Canales. I think it's a good one. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day how I felt about the hiring of Dave Canales, and the only word I could come up with, Rand, was indifferent. And it wasn't because I was throwing any shade at Dave Canales. It's we need to really see Dave Tepper's commitment to the team and what his role in the draft, his role in personnel, and all of that is going forward. How hands on, hands off he's going to be. Sorry if I triggered any Mr. Massage fans out there. But I really want to see how hands on, hands off he's going to be to let that team grow, or is he going to just sit there and keep choking the life out of it? And it won't matter whether he brings in Dave Canales or hell, even Bill Belichick. Um, because as long as you've got an owner that has that kind of complex, it's going to stagnate the growth of this team, no matter who you put in the coach's role.
I agree with you 100%, but I can say I believe that they're off to a good start.
Yeah,
with Canales not being the big hot name coach that Tepper would have went with. Tepper don't know nothing about no Canales.
Do you think the 6-year contract was right, or did that seem a little long of a contract? It's the same length they gave to Matt Rule.
Yeah, I think Canales got 6 years. So I'm again sitting here wondering, why is he paying these coaches so long for? And then he's at the point now where he's paying 3 coaches right now.
3 coaches right now. Yeah, he's got 3 coaches on
He's
payroll.
got 3 coaches on payroll. So I hope it stops there and it's not a 4th come about 18 months from now. But
And I'm glad that don't affect the salary cap.
yeah, I'm saying, yeah, for real.
Jesus
So
Christ.
do what he wants to with his own money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Anthony says Russell Wilson to Pittsburgh. LOL.
I don't know what the LOL is about, man. If Russ wants to come to Pittsburgh, bring his ass on. We need some veteran leadership in that quarterback room and somebody to light a fire up on a Kenny Pickett. So if it's Russ, come on in, Russ.
Oh, absolutely. I think Coach Omar Epps would definitely love him to come there. So
Yep.
yeah, you bring him on to Pittsburgh. I think it would help Kenny Pickett because I think that there are things that Russell has learned being an undersized quarterback that Kenny would find helpful. I don't know how much he could glean from Mitch Trubisky.
Nothing.
I was trying to be nice. Not a damn thing. So that's going to be interesting dynamic. Obviously, his relationship with Denver is pretty much done. But we will see the new NFL season starts, I think, the second week of March. There's a tampering period, that's a legal tampering period that's going to come right before that, where teams can kind of officially talk to players, but they can't sign them officially until the season begins, but they can actually start talking to them right before that too. So there'll be a lot of stuff that we'll be able to talk about right after the Super Bowl, because as we know, the NFL is not 6 months out of the year anymore. It is a year-round league. So there's always stuff going on in the NFL, which is what we love. In addition to that, I'm sorry, but in addition to that, XFL.
No longer the XFL. Now it's the UFL.
The UFL, that's right. Now the UFL, because they've merged, will then start their spring football. So for all you football lovers and junkies out there that think that you will have absolutely nothing to do if you're not a baseball or NASCAR fan or an NBA fan, you are wrong. The UFL is coming right after that, headed off by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So I look forward to watching a few of those games. I want to find a team that I can really kind of get behind and follow and stuff like that. So it'll be really, really interesting. Anthony says DC Defenders coming back with violence. Anthony, DC and violence pretty much are the same word. You only had to use it once. We already knew DC Defenders. They ain't defending nothing. They should be the DC Offenders.
Yeah. I was a Pittsburgh Maulers fan, but we lost our franchise in the merger. So
really,
now I got to find somebody else to pull for, and it's not easy because I'm not really an XFL fan. I was more of a USFL fan, and the only squad that is remotely interesting to me would be the Michigan Panthers. But maybe, I do latch onto the Panthers because I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. So we'll see.
And now I know we're about to run out, but but they still play the same rules and all that too, right? 11 on 11 and all of that.
Yeah, basically the same rules. Yeah, no gimmick football, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, that's what turned me off with a lot of that stuff. Even with arena football was, I mean, a team can score 60, 70 points on the regular and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
just all these extra things and stuff. I just want to see regular football. Maybe guys that just didn't get a shot at the NFL or depending on the way that they play, may actually get an invitation to come work out for a team. So we'll be able to love to see these guys. Some of these guys be able to do that, still play some good football and stuff. So
yeah, and I'm very hopeful for it too. I hope it latches on. I hope it stays. We do need some football in the spring, and we do need guys getting a second opportunity, and guys being rewarded with a chance at the NFL through good UFL play, and some exciting games with regular TV programming and stuff like that. We need that in the spring when there's nothing but baseball going on. Baseball needs some competition.
it does, because as much as I am a Yankees fan, I'm not watching 160 games.
No.
They have, but I will be going to New York soon. Once
Let me know, brother.
Once it warms up.
Let me know, because I want to go back. Maybe we could catch a game together.
Oh, that's what I want to do. Yeah, let's
our
go.
Yankees are supposed to be it this year for real. So
April 3rd is opening weekend. Yes, I
let's
do know that.
Let's go. Soto is the man.
I won't go for another opening weekend because it's still too cool up in New York. But maybe mid-April, first part of May.
June even, I'm good.
June even I could do that too, because then I don't have to worry about the weather, and then going to the stadium during that time, there's nothing like it, especially a night game or something like that. So maybe we can catch a Red Sox Yankees game or something like that.
That would be awesome.
All right. Well, I will definitely let you know about that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for another week of Head to Head Sports. We got the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, but we will have a show next week to wrap things up. Go ahead and give our prognosis for the Super Bowl. It might be a little bit of a shorter show because we'll just be wrapping things up right before the Super Bowl. But hope you guys join us. Hope that you share the show, and we will see y'all again next week. Y'all take care.